Hello, and welcome into another edition of One If by Land, Two If by Tea, the history comedy podcast, where a real-life history teacher teaches an art school student things that he probably should have learned or maybe Googled at some point in history class. I am your host, the Eddie McCabe, joined as always by my personal historian, Mr. Clark. Mr. Clark, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
I'm really glad. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. We have a lot of football anniversaries this week.
There's a lot of football anniversaries. Football is great. We're also coming up on Tom Brady coming back to Foxborough.
Yeah, we had the 20th anniversary of the Mo Lewis hit.
Yeah.
Which, put Brady in. And I never realized this until I read a retrospective on it today. Sean Ellis was hitting him low. The guy that we traded Sean Ellis for Bill Belichick.
Okay.
And that guy was in on that play too.
Wow.
There's just this constant, this like spider web of connections.
It's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah. We're 4 years removed from the greatest flag football game ever played.
I'm really sad about that one.
Yeah.
Because that was the funniest thing is somebody on that team, Ahad, was like, "Where was I?"
Yeah.
And I said, probably would have won if I was there.
Yeah. You could say that because you weren't in the game.
I wasn't in the game.
Yeah.
I could have been the difference maker.
That game unfolded like that 2011 Giants-Patriots Super Bowl.
Sure.
And just like that one, the good guys lost.
Yeah.
We let them. We were losing. We scored to bring it to within one.
Yep.
And then we let them score again.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, who does that in a flag football game?
Yeah,
we
right.
let them score so that we get the ball back.
Yeah.
And get a chance to drive. And we drove it down the field, and we couldn't punch it in.
That's, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, if you were there to do your
Yeah.
super pump fake or one of those things,
Would have been
maybe things would have been different.
Maybe.
Yeah. But, devastating. Devastating.
That is devastating.
Yeah.
I bought new gloves, and I have yet to use them.
Yeah, well, that was the thing. Like, we wanted to go back, but after the pandemic, there was all these no-fun rules.
Yeah.
And rules for the sake of rules.
Sure.
And I was like, I'm waiting this out.
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
Yeah, and then it became... I got an email today that we could sign up and, join a league for October.
Yeah, I think now they're like, hey, we're outside.
Yeah.
It's mostly okay.
Yeah, we're outside. Just, you know what you're in for.
The only, you can get it outside.
Sure.
If you're at a concert.
Yeah,
if
right.
you're, crammed in for a long period of time.
Yeah, you're all next to each
get
other.
It. Yeah.
Yeah, you're all next to each other.
Right. For a really long time.
Yeah.
But if you're just, running up and tugging a flag and walking away or...
Right. Yeah.
Well, Stephon Gilmore last year, leaned in and did a nice heartfelt talk to Patrick Mahomes while he was COVID positive.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
And Mahomes was fine, so...
Well,
goes to show you.
Yeah, who's to say? Everybody's vaccinated. The FDA is approving kids.
Yeah, hopefully they get it.
I think so.
Yeah, most of them. I'm worried more about my students.
Yeah, sure.
English language learners, new immigrants who maybe
Yeah.
don't trust systems or
right.
worry about being asked for
Identification.
information. Yeah, all that. I got a bunch of arguments in Spanglish today about it.
Sure.
Most of it is actually just stubborn teenage boy. I don't need that.
Yeah,
I'm fine.
No, yeah, because you were told 2 years ago that you couldn't die if you got it, so you're like, oh, I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. Back to the topic of things we should have learned.
Yes.
I actually think our history teachers missed this.
Okay.
I don't think we just weren't paying attention.
Okay.
Do you remember how we got Hawaii or learning about that in high school?
Yeah, it was a Polynesian territory, and then they saw it as a strategic military opportunity.
Okay.
To get from basically the west coast of the United States to be able to get to the Pacific, to get to China and stuff like that. And so basically we wanted to put a military base there.
Okay.
So there was the king of Hawaii, and we basically came in and was just like, we'll trade stuff with you. Also, you're going to be a territory, and then we'll give you a statehood.
Okay, so you got a semi-decent version to this in high school.
Yeah.
I don't remember anything from high
Right.
school. I just remember we got Hawaii.
Yeah, I
It was
know.
a Christmas present. And
Yeah.
It was we just went under the tree in 1898. And
Yeah, and there it was. There in Alaska.
Yeah, and I had a really good history teacher that year. But You know, there's a lot of things that happened, and you know, it's tough. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
Okay.
How in the world we got this, you know,
this territory,
random chain of islands.
We're going to talk about King Kamehameha.
Kamehameha.
Yeah.
Which is the only pronunciation I feel comfortable doing.
Yeah,
like
sure.
I know that one. I've heard enough people say it.
Yeah.
All the others, just assume I'm wrong.
Yeah,
you
right.
know, if you're curious about that.
I also have been watching a ton of Hawaii Five-0.
Really?
Yeah, so I got Paramount Plus. They emailed me like the day before it went live, and they were like, look, here's the deal. We know no one's going to sign up for this. So we'll give it to you for $20 for the year. And I was like, okay.
That's what it would take. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so it turns out it's way better than I thought it was going to be. It's better than Peacock.
Yeah. That's a low bar.
It's better than Peacock, right? So it's all of the CBS shows of all time. So that like all of them are there. So yay. Paramount Movies and then like a bunch of other stuff. Also has a live TV feature. So I'll be going away this weekend, and I'll be able to watch the Patriots live because I'll be able to tune into my CBS.
Oh, that's solid.
Where I'll be out of market.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty solid. Does it have the Peel remake of The Twilight Zone? Is that on
yes.
there? Okay. Yeah, that might suck me in for a little bit.
Because it's all of the CBS All Access shows, too. So that, Picard, a Below Deck, which were like a bunch of the CBS All Access shows. Those are up there, too. But they have Hawaii Five-0. And I've been watching Hawaii Five-0, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah. So we'll do a quick rundown of like how we got to the point where Hawaii could become an American territory. And there's some debate about how people actually got there.
Okay.
Which, if you just Google like Pacific map,
yeah,
you'll scratch your head and go, yeah, how did anybody get there?
Oh, it's crazy to me. It's like I can't understand how like they found that. Like they couldn't. Like, a bunch of people didn't know that the North and South American continents were there.
Yeah.
Like, how did you find these 4 islands?
Yeah, who just went out east and kept going. And even, so there's debate whether they're from Tahiti, Bora Bora, Raiatea, and Marquesas.
Okay.
But if you, again, just Google where those places are, and they're all just these little dots in the Pacific Ocean with whole lots of blue.
Right.
You know, and we can't wrap our minds around how big these bodies of water are.
Right. Because, like, you look at one of those things and it pops up on, like, TikTok, is the people that, like, the Earth, like, the global map isn't to, like, proper scale.
Yeah, it's botched.
It's like it's crazy because they like then they'll like take a country and then like show you just how big it is in like comparison to Europe or you know what I mean, and so it's like it's insane to me just how big these bodies of water are.
Yeah, and the Greeks get a lot of credit for like ocean travel and being innovative.
Yeah, right.
But that's nothing compared to Tahiti to Hawaii or Bora Bora to Hawaii.
Because their big thing was let's go around the Mediterranean Sea.
Yeah, let's no, and you know, there if you get lost, you're gonna run into land.
Yes.
If anybody got lost on this, they just died.
Yeah. You would run out of if you went the wrong way, and all of a sudden you just started going north.
Yeah.
You wouldn't make it to the next body of water.
Yeah, that's it. So there's some debate about how people actually got there, but once they do, they actually establish several societies. I'm not even sure if it's one per island, but like there's a growing sort of like feudal system on the island, which I was sort of surprised by. I kind of thought like it's this tiny little island in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
If there's humans on it, they must just kind of be hunter-gatherer, nomadic, tribesmen type people. That was my assumption, just dead wrong. Like they had a real structured, hierarchical caste system society.
Yeah.
Kind of similar to Hindu
in
some ways, at least as far as how stratified it is. there's all kinds of rules about who can do what. My favorite, that they had a rule that women couldn't eat bananas.
Yeah. How dare you?
It's just like, wow.
It's wild when you think of those types of things where it's just like, yeah, you woman, you can't wear pants.
Yeah.
Like, why? I don't.
Yeah. Oh, and now we have the total darker side of that today.
Yeah,
where,
right.
No pun intended, because literally in Afghanistan they won't let you wear a color.
Yeah, right.
If you're a woman.
Yeah, no. How
and
dare
if you're
you?
a man, you can wear gray or black.
Yeah,
you get a choice. Yeah, terrible.
I've said it before. And it usually comes up when we talk about religion.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like, you know what? I don't care about your imaginary friend and what they have to say. Don't
Can't do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, don't leave it alone.
Right.
You know what I mean? Let people be people. If they don't want to believe in it, they don't have to.
Yeah. So the population grows on the island until in 1810, the Kamehamehas conquer the island and rule it as one dynasty. I'm not going to name them because I can't say most of the names.
Oh, yeah. There was this Hawaiian restaurant in LA. There's just like a chain of restaurants. It's, you go there and you order stuff and you just look at it. I'm like, I don't know whatever the third thing is. It's this chicken dish, I guess. That's what I want.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what's the food like?
So there, obviously I don't think that this chain restaurant, fast food takeout place is any indication, but it's a lot of chicken, fish, so a lot of chicken, a lot of fish, and a lot of rice. Mm-hmm. And then, so I would say imagine if you had a Mexican version of Chinese food.
Okay.
That was kind of what this place was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That kind of weird, hybrid.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially, with whatever they brought from Hawaii and then blending with Southern California.
Right.
Yeah, like you said, this probably doesn't represent actual traditional Hawaiian cuisine, but
there wasn't they weren't pig roasting in the back.
Yeah.
And I know that pig roasts are a huge thing.
Right.
So.
If you're on an island, you're roasting pigs.
Yeah. So
even if you're by yourself, Lord of the Flies. You find a pig, you roast it up.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
Maybe you murder a friend. Who knows?
So
I read that book.
Yeah. I actually haven't, but I don't have any desire to because so many people have told all the points of the story to me that.
Yeah, that's I never feel the need to read Moby Dick.
Yeah,
it's first of all, I hear that the detailed descriptions of things are nauseating.
Yeah,
so there's that, and then guy goes crazy trying to find a whale. Whale kills him at the end.
Yeah,
okay, cool.
I got the gist.
Yeah, I don't need to.
Right,
don't need to say it.
So the Kamehamehas actually establish international trade.
Yeah.
In the 19th century, in particular China, and there's a lot of immigration too. People from China coming over. So it really was a pretty advanced for the time society.
Yeah.
If you're traversing oceans,
right.
So it's not like one of these North Sentinel Island type places where they're just left alone and
the indigenous Hawaiians and to some extent the Samoans feel like the counterpart to the Vikings, right?
Where, that's interesting.
Where it's they're not as warrior obsessed as the Vikings are, but the Vikings did do a lot of sea exploration travel, and if you actually look at history, they were the first ones from Europe to make it to the Americas, and they were trading with the natives for decades.
I wonder about there's some debate they definitely got here, but or reached the Western hemisphere, but they must not have had much contact, or the only thing because of the disease.
Yeah, right.
The disease is immediately hit when they're contacted by Europeans.
Correct.
So that's why I'm I don't know about their impact. I know they made it. They made it here.
Yeah, I think that maybe it was just the Vikings didn't have as much disease.
That could be.
I don't think that the Viking population really dealt with the bubonic plague. You know what I mean? So, like, if that's the big one,
Yeah.
right, that's kind of wiping out all these people.
Smallpox was the big one.
And smallpox,
Yeah.
right? And so
They didn't live in as dense a cities as
the
as
feudal
the Spanish
English.
and the English and the French. Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? Like, maybe that was the reason. You know, they were kind of the both the same. You know, they were kind of just like out in the air.
Yeah.
As opposed to these like densely populated like feudal cities.
Right. So, you know, Hawaii is eventually contacted by the British first, and then other Europeans and Americans. Captain Cook,
Oh, yeah.
famous name. I couldn't tell you what he did other than contacting the Hawaiians.
Sure, good for him.
And establishing trade with them. You know, they're probably interested in purchasing land, getting a foothold there, but Hawaii has this weird pseudo-feudal federal system where, like, the land has been granted to, you know, what we would call nobles.
Yeah.
And they can't really buy or sell it.
Okay.
It's just like, it's your land. You know, Game of Thrones.
Yeah, right.
They're giving everybody the land, and it's like, you know,
Yeah, you
to
figure.
his sons and heirs,
Yeah.
henceforth till the end of our days.
Yeah, until this becomes a state,
Yeah,
then
exactly.
then it's not yours anymore.
Yeah. You know, so the Europeans initially in 1795 we definitely would love to just conquer it and take it, right?
Yeah,
of course,
right.
but they can't. But what do we see all these times when Europeans explore new places?
Disease.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something I didn't realize before I was prepping for this podcast, the role that disease played.
Yeah.
So the Hawaiians, when they're first met with Europeans, like, they can defend themselves.
Yeah, right.
You know, and this is 1795. So this is like muskets, cannons, horses, all
Sure.
of that. And if you're shipping them across, you know, the Pacific Ocean,
Yeah.
like, no chance
No.
of fighting off the Hawaiians.
Yeah, no.
But they're
Especially
devastated.
when they're probably better at naval warfare. At
Yeah, I
that
would
point.
imagine.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they're going to be a lot better at getting up to your ship.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because you're if you're lugging that type of equipment, your ship's probably bigger, slower,
Yeah, slower.
as opposed to like these, like, you know, these basically pontoons
Yeah.
that are just flying through the water. Get
Right.
up on them.
Yeah, and I would imagine they're they have bigger things than pontoons, but they're not like weighed down by cannons.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, and then, you know, hand-to-hand combat, like,
Right.
it's not like the British were good at that. The
Right.
British were good at, like, we're standing shoulder to shoulder,
Right.
and we're all facing the same direction, so that even if all of our bullets miss what I'm aiming at, what you're aiming at,
Right.
they're all going the same direction, so they're going to hit something that way.
Yeah, right. We're
And
just
it was
trying to.
revolutionary at the time.
Sure. Yeah.
But useless. But anyway, they didn't even need to, because as soon as they show up, there was an estimated 128,000 people on the islands when they got there. By the 1850s, it's down to 71,000.
Ugh.
Just devastating. By 1920, it's down to 24,000.
So, if anything, guys, this and the indigenous population podcast that we did, just get the shot.
Get the shot.
Just get the shot.
Yeah. I mean, we're incredibly lucky with this disease that it is what it is, and
Right.
not, you know, like MERS is like 50-50. You're dead if it jumps from camel to human,
Right.
but it doesn't spread human to human,
Sure.
you know. And the first SARS was like 20% mortality, I think it was, something
Yeah.
crazy, but you couldn't spread it until you were symptomatic.
Okay.
Like, we've been so lucky over the last,
right.
100 years or so. When a disease jumps, there's always been a little problem in the armor there that they couldn't get over.
It hasn't evolved to being that like 1% of germs that the fucking whatever the hell the hand sanitizer won't kill, because they're 99. Purell's 99% effective.
Yeah, right. So at that point, the first thing that goes for the Hawaiians is their navy.
Okay.
Right, which makes sense because
Yeah.
it's harder to operate ships and whatnot. So they have
Right.
like barely a navy, barely an army to speak of over
Right.
the years as disease just like devastates them. Right. And we see the same. This is like further evidence for what we talked about on that indigenous populations and disease podcast that we did, right? Because like this is another example, even better documentation because it's 1795.
Yes.
And the same thing happened when this like small genetically homogenous group gets contacted by the Europeans.
Right.
Just devastated.
Yeah, there's like that. I forget exactly where they are, but they're somewhere in that like Pacific Rim area, and there's that. The story is of that Mormon that like tried to spread Jesus to them, and they like
North Sentinel Island.
Yeah, and they shot him with arrows, and he was just dead immediately.
Yeah,
and it's like I wonder what would happen if, like, would we see this same type of thing?
Yeah,
if like just a random person ended up contacting them and they let them in.
Yeah. That's a good question. It would be a little different because it's off the coast of India, so the genetic factors would be slightly different.
Right.
But same idea, right? It's a very small, homogeneous population.
But it's like, like here's the thing. You're vaccinated against COVID.
Yeah.
So am I. They haven't dealt with that. That's not a thing that they've dealt with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, would I bring that to them?
Yeah, right. It's a good point, especially because we're seeing, there's people that get breakthrough infections or a lot of people might have it, not know they have it because they have no symptoms because the vaccine's working.
Correct.
It's not like a pure sterilizing immunity where your body just kills it immediately.
Sure.
At least not all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you could totally do that exact thing if you just walked up and they didn't shoot you.
Yeah.
And you could give them the virus and then it would hit them though the way that it hit us in March of 2020.
Yeah.
It'd be the same type of deal. It's going to be really interesting. Like, we don't know where the pandemic's going.
Yeah,
We're
right.
recording this in September 23rd.
Yes, 2021.
2021. We have no idea what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, there's talk of, like, booster shots, but only for the Pfizer. If you're the Moderna or the Johnson & Johnson, you don't know. There's talk about waning immunity.
Yeah, right.
We're all walking around like we don't know if our vaccine is starting to wear off.
Sure.
This Delta variant is legitimately more serious than the previous variants.
Right.
Which is, media's got to be careful about crying wolf.
Well,
that UK one I was so scared of.
Sure.
And then I wasn't scared of this one as much.
And you should have been.
And I probably should have been.
Well, the problem is, we don't have to do a media episode, but the problem is that everybody's trying to make everybody else look bad.
Yeah.
As opposed to just like reporting what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. And like the public health people didn't come out and say like, there's no way to know exactly how long this is going to last. And we're going to be monitoring it. We're going to be doing studies, get the shot, and like, we'll keep you posted.
Right.
That would have helped a lot.
Yeah. Well, also, an entire presidential regime trying not to, have people distrust the leading virologist.
Oh yeah.
Like that probably would have helped.
Yeah, that would have helped a lot.
You know what I mean? If we just, didn't have to do this. Because I still think that the worst thing that happened with this pandemic is that it started during an election year.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was brutal. But I bring that up to say, like, there's lots of historical record for when a new disease just enters a population.
Right.
Like, we've seen that. I mean, we saw that in March 2020 and all that.
Right.
And, like, usually there's some finding of equilibrium. Like, that doesn't mean it's good, but there's sort of, like, a finding a balance. Like, bubonic plague pretty much killed everybody it could. And it just got to a point where it couldn't spread anymore.
Right.
Not exactly like herd immunity,
sure.
But when a virus is that devastating, people hide from it. It's harder to spread. With smallpox, kind of just ran wild.
Yeah.
On populations, especially Native Americans, it just kind of spread, died off, but it. Not this constant, like, plague state.
Yeah, right.
I can't think of an example of what we have now where, like, this disease hit us. We sort of halfway protected ourselves with vaccines.
Sure.
Both because people won't take it and because, like, there's not enough for the entire world.
Right.
So you have, most of the world just out there exposed.
Right.
The thing could mutate. Really, really unprecedented.
Yeah.
But what we see in Hawaii with this disease that just ravages them over and over is that they're greatly weakened. They can't really defend themselves, and they're forced to sort of play Britain, France, and the United States off each other to maintain their independence.
Sure.
So they're constantly going to each one of them, like, I'll be friends with you if you give me this, and I'll be friends with you if you give me that. And
which is the way you should do it.
Hey, that guy's making me nervous. Could you talk to him? I mean, it's just, it's really, like, sad because, long before they come in American territory, they're not an independent nation.
Yeah. It feels like Haiti.
Sort of.
Like, not as enslaved, but, like, it feels kind of like that, where it's like, yeah, you might not necessarily be owned by the French, but you're kind of owned by the French.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, that period where they're desperately paying France to not enslave them, and the United States is sort of giving them the cold shoulder. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good comparison. Americans start immigrating to Hawaii.
Yeah, because it's beautiful.
Because it's beautiful, and it's a great place to grow sugar.
Sure.
And sugar's still a really, really valuable crop in the early 1800s. They become a very vital part of Hawaiian society. Through the plantations, they're creating jobs, they're paying taxes, they're serving in militias. And I don't know how many Americans versus English married into the royal family.
Okay.
But it's clear as the names start becoming things that I can pronounce, like David.
Yeah, sure.
It'll be like David Kamehameha, like David and then a Hawaiian last name.
Yeah, right.
There's more and more intermarriage between Westerners and Hawaiians. So, like, they're not sovereign, and the nation's changing.
Yeah.
It's no longer the empire.
Right.
Whatever. Sovereign.
Yeah.
It's an empire. No, because the Kamehameha has conquered the other islands. So,
yeah, it's all one thing. So, yeah.
It counts.
It counts.
You're an empire.
Yeah.
You take territory. In 1839, France threatens war and demands reparations from the Hawaiians after Hawaii deported Catholic missionaries and threatened to expel the Catholic Church entirely.
Yeah, you know what, France? Keep it to yourself, right?
Yeah. The Kamehamehas eventually have to get, like, help from the British to get the French to back off, and they agree to a modified free enterprise system in exchange.
Okay.
So there you're seeing right there, like, they had this feudal system with the lords owning the land. Not that that's great.
Yeah,
but it was their decision, and now they're sort of having to give in to the British.
Yeah, hey, all right, I guess we got to make our government look like yours.
Yeah. 1843, a rogue British lord named George Paulet sails into Honolulu, and demands the king surrender to Britain. Just basically conquers the capital.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Rogue, like, not ordered to do it. Just decided he was going to do it.
Okay.
And then, for whatever reason, his superiors in Britain overruled him and made him give it back.
Okay. All right.
Which makes no sense to me at all.
Yeah.
Because literally, like, 15, 20 years later, they're conquering big swaths of Africa.
Right.
And Asia, and like, I guess they were taking a break a little bit from colonialism.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't
the
get
last
it.
one, they didn't, it wasn't a good look. Right?
Yeah.
It wasn't a good look with the Americas. They're like, maybe not.
They were having trouble getting back in the saddle.
Yeah, they were a little gun shy.
Yeah, they were hurt. They were brokenhearted.
Yeah,
didn't work out.
Yeah, they hadn't sung that Taylor Swift song yet, so they weren't ready to start conquering again.
Yeah, I just find that detail really interesting that they could have conquered it in 1843 and just, like, gave it back and, like, apologized to the Hawaiians.
Yeah.
The Hawaiians seem to get special treatment from these Western powers.
Have you seen the pineapples?
Not a real one.
Yeah, well.
Not a real one. Just, frozen pineapple at the grocery store.
Yeah, well, when you see a real fresh one, you're like, wow.
I wouldn't even know what to do with it. I don't even know how they get cut up.
I don't either.
Yeah.
I don't even understand coconuts. There's milk in there, but it's water. I don't know.
Yeah, that one doesn't make sense
Viva
either.
Coco. I don't know. It tastes terrible.
Coconut milk?
Coconut water.
Oh, coconut water is disgusting.
It's disgusting.
Supposedly really good for you.
Yeah, but forget that.
Yeah, full of electrolytes.
Yeah, I don't care. So's Gatorade. Get out of here.
Tom Brady likes it.
Yeah, well, you know what? Tom Brady is a Fruit Loop. I love him. And I'm like really glad that Tom Brady decided to put all of his energy into football.
Yeah.
Because otherwise he would be the most prolific serial killer of all time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like there's no middle ground. Like
Yeah.
he was never going to sell insurance. Like that was never going to happen.
He had to be in a hyper competitive field.
Yeah. Yeah.
He could have been also like Jeff Bezos, or he could have been a Goldman Sachs, investment banker.
Yeah, and murdering people on the side. Okay? I saw that commercial where that man brought him to the secret room and there was a bed and he was going to have sex with that bed, or he was going to murder a prostitute on top of that bed and then have sex with that bed. So,
but thank God he had football practice to go to just
yeah,
let it all
and
out.
he just didn't do any of that.
Yeah.
He is so mad at Bill Belichick that he went to one of the worst franchises in the league's history and was like, I'm going to win another Super Bowl. And did.
Well, he leaked out through Guerrero that Bill never treated him any different over the 20 years.
Yeah.
which I believe.
Yeah, and Bill Belichick's an idiot.
I mean,
he's an idiot.
He got the 6 Super Bowls.
Yeah, no.
know.
No, I'm not talking about that. I am talking about the fact that it's like, hey, this is the greatest quarterback of all time.
Yeah.
You don't let that guy walk out the door. I don't care.
Yeah.
Just because Bill Belichick definitely believes that anybody could have been Tom Brady, and he's wrong.
I don't think that. I don't think he thinks anybody could be Tom Brady. I think he's probably frustrated that people don't give him enough credit. But I think he knows Tom Brady was special.
The problem is that they both had all of the credit until you stopped support. Like at some point, and I want to say it's like 2017, 2018, where it was like there was a clear shift that Bill Belichick had like stopped putting emphasis on retaining top talent, like both on the offensive and defensive side of the ball, making it more about him. And it's just like, hey, this isn't 2004 anymore, where we're looking at 8 years more of this quarterback. We're looking at, and again, we're wrong, but we're looking at like 3. We're looking at like 3 years left with this guy, and you let the best defensive end go, and you let the best offensive tackle go, and you replace them with like 15 like running backs that are all just going to play special teams. And I'm sorry, but it's just like you're taking the opposite approach of what like the Saints did.
Yeah.
Where it's like Drew Brees has 2 years left. We're going to get everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like that's where it's like, hey man, like I would rather you go out in a blaze of glory, and if you're as good as you say and think you are, then once Tom Brady retires, you get as much time as you need to rebuild this thing. But you need to ride this thing out with him, as opposed to, I don't know, actively pushing out the greatest quarterback of all time out the door.
Well, that's in the past, and now he's spending like it's a crazy weekend in Vegas.
Yeah.
And the team looks pretty good. And
yeah, except they don't let Mac Jones pass into the end zone, and it makes me sad.
Yeah, that makes me sad too. Anyway, we got to go back to Hawaii.
Yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't we want to go back to Hawaii?
Yeah, a place
It's
where
beautiful.
you get to surf and then drive Camaros.
Yeah.
That's what they do on Hawaii Five-0. My favorite part about that show, because I'm never going to be able to talk about it on this podcast because we're probably not going to talk about Hawaii again.
I don't see it happening.
My favorite part about the show is that the Hawaii Five-0 Task Force is this like above the law, like super cop unit. And they walk up to every single crime scene, to every single person. And they're like, hi, I'm Lieutenant Commander Stephen McGarrett of Hawaii Five-0. And everybody just acts as if they're like, oh yes, of course.
Of course, I know the
Yes.
organizational chart of the police, and I know what that means.
Right, I know exactly what that means. It's even funnier because like they're in Hawaii, so like sometimes like stuff happens in like the middle of the ocean, and they like need the Coast Guard or the Navy, and then he's just like he'll like call somebody and be like, "Hi, this is Commander McGarrett of Hawaii 5-0," and they're like, "Oh yes, of course," and it's just like, "Oh, I guarantee you that the Coast Guard does not know what this specialized Hawaiian task force is." So that's probably my favorite thing, along with like them walking up to like people's homes and like just not being like, hey, we're with like, you know, Honolulu Police Department or like the Hawaii Police Department, however it's there. But then they get to drive in fun cars like Camaros. So
Those cop shows where they're driving muscle cars are so fun.
oh, it's the best.
It's so ridiculous, but they're so fun. Anyway, so the French invade again in 1849.
Okay.
And just like pillage the island, steal, destroy. But then they leave
Yeah.
for no real, like they weren't driven out.
Yeah.
They just leave.
Probably because they were like, well, this is an island very far away from where France is.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, they're not too far away from colonizing Vietnam and Laos and
True. Yeah.
Cambodia.
Okay.
We know the end of that story.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. So just sort of getting at the point of like, it's kind of strange that Hawaii maintained somewhat of its independence as long as it did. 1872, the Kamehameha dynasty ends with the last king dying and no clear successor. And then after that, there's just severe internal political drama about who's going to be next. Eventually, King David... Oh, jeez. David...
Do it.
Kalakaua?
Kalakaua? Yeah. There's 15 vowels. I don't know.
There's an A that we don't have in this language.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
Oh, God, yeah. David K.
David K.
David K. So clearly, right, he's got some English or some American in him.
Sure.
He's named king mostly because the British and the Americans are supporting him.
Yeah, okay.
So at this point, it's like it's full-on imperialism.
Yeah.
Like the West is influencing their government.
Right.
The United States and England seem content to sort of like, as long as we can both trade here, use it as a gas station.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, yeah. And then David K. names a line of succession that causes more controversy within the island because he picked people that were of a lower caste.
Okay.
That shouldn't have been in the line of succession.
Okay.
So they're divided internally. And as all that's going on, more Americans and more Europeans are moving to the island, and we've gotten to the point where like they outnumber drastically the actual Hawaiian people.
Sure.
1887, America gets Pearl Harbor as a military base.
Okay.
We're leasing it.
Yeah.
You know, we're just renting it.
We're just renting
Just
it.
renting a little space to park our military ships.
Yep.
You know,
Just like Guantanamo.
yeah. Well, we don't pay for that.
That's true. We don't pay for
I don't
that.
I think they just had to give it to us forever.
Maybe.
I'm pretty sure that was the part of the Platt Amendment that it's just like, yeah, this is just forever, and
This is ours.
we'll give it back if we feel like it.
Sure.
But you can't like take it.
Yeah.
So thanks. Anyway, so let's get to the Bayonet Constitution.
Okay.
Yeah. The Hawaiian Patriot League begins a rebellion against the monarchy in 1887, and they force the monarch to sign a new constitution. Now, Hawaiian Patriotic League. What do you think of when you with that?
A bunch of like lower to middle tier college football teams. The Patriot League.
Oh yeah.
It's like Ball State.
So this was just a group of white militias.
Yeah, of course it was.
So they're like, we're Hawaiian patriots,
yeah, right.
but
Oh,
you
it
know,
sounds
they're not Hawaiian at all.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
They're not Hawaiian at all.
Well,
They're-
actually, I mean, a lot of them were born there at this
sure.
point.
Yeah, but they were all like white colonized people.
Right. Well, like, can you even call what they did colonization? They just
True.
moved there.
That's right.
Like, there was some influence from the American government, the English government, the French government, but, like, it's still
yeah.
a Hawaiian sovereign nation. They're paying taxes to the Hawaiians. Like,
Right, yeah.
that's what's so interesting about Hawaii is, like, it's kind of colonization, but it's totally different from all the other examples of colonization.
Yeah, because like nobody came here and just like, this is us now.
Yeah. Tunisia and Algeria, I think were similar with the French, where it was like a lot of buying land and immigration, but they never outnumbered the local populace.
Okay.
Like, we overran their country through immigration.
Yeah, weird.
The thing we're always worried about other people doing to us.
I know. It's
so the Bayonet Constitution was drafted by an American lawyer, and it granted more voting rights to white Hawaiians and Native Hawaiians.
Sure.
But it stripped Asians of their rights.
Oh, that's too bad.
Horrible. Yeah. Messed up. It's a limited monarchy similar to England's. David Kaye dies in 1891, and he's followed by
Do it.
Liliuokalani.
Yep, good enough.
She doesn't have an English first name for me to lean on.
No, Moana over there.
Liliuokalani.
Yeah.
So when she takes over, she's unhappy with the Bayonet Constitution for obvious reasons, right? Like they were forced to sign it.
Yeah.
Basically at bayonet point. And she wants to expand the power of the monarchy. So that causes some problems. At the same time, the McKinley Tariff is passed.
Okay.
Which named for, God, I can't remember his first name. William McKinley. Yeah. Who later becomes president.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he was already president at that point.
No, he was in Congress.
Got it.
Yeah, and he becomes president. He's like the trivia question president of like the one people forget who got assassinated.
Okay, yeah.
It's always like, who are the, what is it?
3, 4?
Lincoln,
JFK.
McKinley, JFK. Right, Lincoln, McKinley, JFK. Right, that's it, right?
I think there's only 3.
Yeah, it's only 3. So he's the one that everybody forgets.
Yeah.
So unless there's one that I'm forgetting right now, and
then
there's
he's
another
the guy.
one. Yeah,
then he's the guy.
Yeah. So that absolutely, this tariff tax on imports just absolutely devastates the Hawaiian economy because a big portion of it is importing sugar to the United States.
Sure.
So all these Americans who were like, yeah, I moved to Hawaii, it's great, I got my plantation, like it's warm, and yeah, I grow my sugar and I sell it to the United States. You know, it's great. I'm not losing anything. Now they are, because they're losing out because of the tariff system. So from that point on, it's pretty clear that something's going to happen. Right? The Americans aren't going to put up with this.
Elvis is going to come and sing a bunch of songs.
Liliuokalani's solution or proposed solution is a lottery,
okay,
raise tax revenues, and licensing opium sales.
Ooh, drugs are always the answer.
Yeah, just a terrible idea.
Yeah,
although I don't know if it's a terrible idea after we've seen the war on drugs.
Yeah, no, the war on drugs is definitely worse.
Worse, yeah.
Yeah.
One day we'll do the opium war or the opium wars. We'll do that and how just horrible that is and how people don't give enough hate to England's past.
Sure.
You know. So Liliuokalani seeks to rewrite the Constitution and only allow Hawaiians to vote. And that's not going to work when Hawaiians are now the minority.
Yeah, right.
So all those bayoneted Hawaiian patriots.
Sure. That are going to roll up to their capital and storm it.
Yeah, they roll up to the capital. They got their bayonets. This time, you know, their queen orders people to arrest the patriots, but can't do it because they're so drastically outnumbered. And the queen's deposed. Okay. So they form a committee of safety to rule the island for a little bit. The islands.
Sure. What a stupid name.
It's like also like ripped from like the French Revolution. The Committee of Public Safety was the ones like killing everybody.
Sure.
It's like,
yeah,
you know, you'd think you would not bring back that name.
Yeah, right. You idiots.
Yeah.
Well, that's what like those people are kind of stupid. Like they're kind of the stupider people. They like vaguely understand a plot point or like, I got the whole thing.
Right. So Hawaii's now ruled by like the white people born in Hawaii.
Okay.
The Americans born in Hawaii. And then there's sort of some turmoil in the American government over this because some people in the American government had supported the efforts to overthrow the Queen, but not in an official capacity.
Sure.
So they, they're in this weird situation where like Grover Cleveland says that he's like horrified by what happened and that they're going to fully investigate. And it's like, but it was us. Like we did the thing.
We did it. We did it. Us.
We did the thing. Yeah. He tries to actually restore the Queen Lalakuanu. Tries to restore her to the throne with the deal that she'll provide amnesty to the rebels.
Sure.
And she turns it down.
Yeah.
Which is like
Stupid.
not self-aware.
Yeah, kind of stupid.
Yeah. So like the United States finds itself in this weird position where they don't want to appear to be a colonizer.
Right.
But if they don't do anything, England will take it.
Yeah.
Or Japan.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be a problem later.
Because we're right around the Meiji Restoration.
Okay.
We're a few years before the Russo-Japanese War. But they're becoming a serious threat in the region.
Yeah,
so,
right.
It's kind of like, I don't know what to do. And then in 1898, President McKinley annexes Hawaii. And there's really little resistance. The Hawaiians stage a protest by not attending the ceremony, the welcoming ceremony, and wearing their traditional clothing elsewhere. But kind of like they know there's nothing to do at this point. They don't have the manpower, they don't have the resources to fight back. And at this point, they're outnumbered by Americans who've moved there. And the place was never going to be the same. There's no putting the toothpaste back in the tube.
Yeah, once you spill that, it's...
Yeah. So it becomes a territory, later becomes a state. And it's really interesting because you never want to defend colonization.
Right.
You never do.
No, especially when there's something that's like so culturally different. Mm-hmm. Like it's it's so far away. Like it takes 6 hours to fly from here to Los Angeles.
Yes.
It takes another 6 hours to get to Hawaii. You know what I mean? Like that is so far from here, and that's plane.
Yeah.
Right? Like we're not even at planes when when this becomes a state.
Yeah, we're at steamships.
We're at steamships.
Yeah.
Right? And so, you're still talking days.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're talking days at this point?
Still lovely, though.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
But it's like that is so far away. That is a month of travel to get there from the capital.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like that's the crazy part about colonization, because it's so detached from the cultural epicenter of like where the thing originated, because Hawaiian culture is just so different.
It is, but in this instance, I think you could argue it worked out for them.
Oh, it definitely worked out for them.
They became a state.
Yep.
They're still, the language is still there.
Yes.
It hasn't totally died off. The culture hasn't died off.
Yeah, I think that mostly because the South's version of our heritage is just so skewed at this point, but the culture and the heritage of the state is truly the state's identity, which I think like is more or less the goal of the states.
Yeah.
Right? Is like it's tough, especially in the Northeast region, that like their identity is basically the same with slightly different chowders.
Yes.
Or
some maple syrup.
Or some maple syrup or
blueberries.
Something. Yeah, you know what I mean? But it's like, Texas has a very distinct identity.
Yeah.
And it just so happens that Hawaii decided to have like a completely different culture.
Yeah, and they sort of not that I don't think there was any motivation to like strip them of their culture the way that Native Americans in the Midwest were like purposefully, through legislation, stripped of their culture.
Sure.
So, I mean, it kind of feels like the people that converted to Christianity to avoid the taxes in the Spanish Empire. Right? Remember the Spanish Inquisition?
And nobody suspects the Spanish Inquisition.
Nobody suspects it. Yeah. Like it almost feels like that, where it's like, oh man, well, I'm giving up something, but I'm kind of getting something here too.
Yeah.
You know, and there's probably a reason they became a state, the Philippines didn't.
Right.
You know, because it's not that far away. It was an American territory.
Sure.
So at some point we could look at that of like
why, or even Puerto Rico.
Yeah, Puerto Rico. Yeah, I don't understand that one.
I don't understand that one either. I like, especially because they like show up to the meetings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they show up.
So does Guam and American Samoa.
Yeah, and all three.
Yeah.
All three should just...
I don't know why there's not a bigger push from Puerto Rico themselves.
Yeah.
I think that like they have their problems, like obviously, and like I think they should be a state.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people like they're comfortable for the most part. Like they have some protections of American life. They have the dollar. Like you know, it's more stable than like the DR or Haiti or a lot of the other islands in the area. So maybe they're just sort of content with.
Yeah, I think the thing is that they're still kind of holding out hope that they could be independent. You know, I think that if you were to like poll the Puerto Rican people, you'd be like, hey, would you rather be a state or an independent nation? I think that they would rather the independent nation, but the problems that comes with that, you know what I mean? Because you can't use the American dollar.
I think state would win in that poll. I think it's been 100 years.
Sure.
You know, at the time, they wanted their independence and we took it from them, and it was wrong. 100 years later, I think that like
maybe.
Yeah, I think they would just
do it. Why not? Like, American Samoa, Guam, Puerto Rico, and DC.
Yeah.
Just do all four.
Right.
All four at once. You know, it's a nice even number, so we can just add those to the flag. I think it's in rows of 4 anyway.
God, I couldn't tell you.
I think it's that.
Well, maybe American Samoa and Guam could be one.
Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, it should be a situation where it's like American Samoa, Guam, just get rolled into Hawaii.
Here's a tricky question. Let's anger the post-colonial theorists.
Sure.
Would it have been better? Would everything be better if we just straight up colonized Afghanistan?
Yes.
Not saying I'm. Yeah. And again, I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
With the chaos that's going on right now.
So yeah, I mean it's a great question, and it's something that I, like when we first invaded Afghanistan, and again, I'm 12, you know what I mean? But I felt like that was what we were doing. You know what I mean? Like I felt like that was what was happening, was like the bad guys had taken over.
Yeah.
The bad guys had taken over. We're getting rid of the bad guys.
Yeah.
And then the good guys are here now. And so it's like, oh, well, and again, I'm 12 in this scenario. So it's like it only makes sense to my brain that it's like, oh, yeah, you just become another state. Like we'll just rope you into our thing that we got going on, and everything will be good. And then 20 years later, it's like, oh, not only was that not the plan, but like, you didn't have any plan.
Yeah.
You didn't know what you wanted.
Yeah.
And I do feel like basically to just hold off 20 years to just go back to where we were, it would have been better if they were just a state.
Yeah. I mean, it's, and again, I'm not advocating the United States should go out, conquer territories, and take them over. I'm not saying that's good.
No.
But.
Well, it's the same thing it's the same concept I have about D.C. is that nobody should live in Washington, D.C. The whole point of D.C. was that it was its own thing. Yeah. Even if it is inside of Maryland, it's its own thing. So it's like, nobody should live in D.C. The problem is a bunch of people do.
Yeah.
And they don't have representation, or they don't have proper representation comparatively to their population size. And so the milk is spilled, and here we are.
Yeah.
Right? And so in a perfect world, nobody should live there. But people live there. So we have to do something about it. And it's the same thing with Afghanistan, where it's like, yeah,
Nobody should literally live there.
Nobody should live in Afghanistan.
It's amazing that humans have made it there for so long.
Yeah, nobody should live in Afghanistan. That place looks miserable. But that being said, if you know what I mean, like if we went in, like I don't think that anybody, any country, should like go into a place and conquer a place and be like, you're mine now. Like,
yeah.
we definitely should have evolved past that by now. But here's the thing: 20 years ago, we did. So, like, either finish the job or don't.
Yeah, I mean, like hindsight being 2020, what we should have done: gone in, pushed out the Taliban, gotten Bin Laden, turned around, and went home in, you know, the spring of 2002. Like, okay. Bye, guys. Like, you know, good luck.
Right.
That's what we should have done.
Yes.
When we took the other turn,
yeah.
It stayed 20 years.
Right.
I mean, what if we treated it like it was a state, and we invested like the resources there, and people moved there?
There's no reason why.
Just a thought experiment.
No, 100%. Because like the problem was that because again there was no plan.
No plan.
There was no plan. So if you decided that it was like, no, this is going to be ours now, you could have developed the United Arab Emirates. Like, you could have developed a city like Dubai over there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And now Dubai is so small, and the United Arab Emirates is so small in terms of, like, its land mass that it's like, oh, if Afghanistan was to be able to start being that Middle Eastern, like, cultural hub a la a New York City.
Yeah.
Like, I do think that it could have worked. I think that, you know, between Dubai and, you know, whatever this Kabul, like, you know, basically becoming this new, like, beacon, you know, of civilization, I think it could have worked. You know, you never know, but
I just look at it's the tragedy of, you know, we go there and there's, you know, like horrible things happen while we're at war there, like obviously, but like infant mortality goes down, vaccinations go up, women get educated, more kids go to school, more people get access to healthcare, and now all that's just gone. And you see the pictures of the women's quote unquote university in Kabul where they're dressed in all black, like holding the Taliban flag because they have to, and just, you know that we're going back to 1996 when those extremists rolled in there. Like, it's just so horrible that I'm like, is that worse than if America just took it
over? Well, because
gave them free speech.
The crazy thing is that I think that there should be a healthy mix.
Yeah.
Right? Of like, you know, I got a lot of problems with religion if you've listened to the show. But it's like in a healthy world, you should be able to have your religious freedom to do whatever the hell you want, but then a healthy mix of other cultures and ideas. And, you know, it sucks, especially like here in the continental United States, you know, I feel like it's so divided. Like that Bible Belt is like such a real thing where, you know, like where there is a blend, because like in Massachusetts, specifically for people that listen to this, that are not from Massachusetts, there is a blend of Catholicism and like spirituality in like that Christianity sense for the most part.
Yeah.
But it doesn't dominate the process.
Yeah.
Right? Like at no point is it like the Bible says abortion's wrong, so we're going to outlaw abortion because the Bible said so. You know, there's much more, policy is much more well thought out.
Yeah, secular. Yeah.
You know, and that's the way it should be. And I feel like, you know, that should have been the goal in Afghanistan the whole time.
The Taliban,
right?
It's not about religion. It's just
it's about domination.
It is about because they outlawed like recording music.
Right.
They've outlawed anything that brings people joy.
Right.
They played with those bumper cars.
Yes.
And then you know what they did?
They destroyed them. Yeah.
You see them in the video, like laughing like
they're
children.
having fun.
Yeah.
So bumper cars are fun.
Experienced the joy and they destroyed it.
Yeah.
So
Well, because that's the problem, and it's unfortunate because we've covered like the Muslim religion here,
origin story.
like we've covered the origin of it, and it's like, oh, Muhammad is rolling over in his grave.
Oh yeah.
As to what
Yeah.
this version of like they've bastardized his message
Yeah.
and the idea of his community.
Yeah.
Even the first couple of caliphs. Even the first couple of caliphs wouldn't have really liked this. I think it wasn't until like 4 that like we started getting like these type of rules.
Oh no, nothing like these type of. Omar divided men and women at prayer.
Yeah,
He didn't
right,
Say, he
right.
didn't say cover them head to toe in black and
right.
beat them if they don't have a male companion.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Sorry, Omar.
Yeah.
That's on me, bud.
I know you're connected to Omar.
Yeah,
He's your favorite.
He is my favorite.
Yeah, so sorry to take that tangent on the colonialism thing, but I just think it's so interesting because, like, colonialism was such a, dark, destructive force in so many ways, but then it's like it also shaped so much of our world,
right.
and, like, you have this weird outlier in Hawaii where it's like they kind of got a good deal from it.
Right. Well, it's tough because, again, like, in recent years, colonialism has, like, become such, like, a... Colonialism has become such a negative thing.
Yes.
And it's like, all right, yes. Like,
Yeah.
it is bad to, like, go in and destroy a culture.
Yeah.
And, like...
Steal their valuable resources.
Yeah. And just get rid of it. Like, that's wrong. But I think the word I'm looking for is, like, assimilation.
Yeah.
Because, like, there are so many, and again, like, kind of in that, like, Southeast Pacific, right? Like, all of those islands. And it's like, look, I'm not advocating for this either, but it's like, what would kind of benefit, like, the global community is if, like, China took that. Because they're so small and independent. I guess
I disagree.
Well, again, here's the thing. They're going to get the idea and they're going to start doing that now from this podcast. And I'm sorry, world. But it's more so the idea of like this idea of like a global community, right? Like, we're in such a weird place where these countries are so divided. Basically, it's divided between like 5 or 6 superpowers.
Do you know that China has been flying fighter pilots at Taiwan every day?
Yes.
Every day for the last like month.
Right.
That should be bigger news.
It should be.
They fly fighter jets and then they play chicken.
So
and they veer off.
So the better example of what I'm trying to say is that like, don't lose any of the culture, but what would be super helpful to like everybody in this region is if the United States, Canada, and Mexico just merged into one nation. You know what I mean? Do you know how much better this entire...
That's a better example, yeah.
Do you know how much better this continent would be? Because you're 100% right. China made John Cena apologize for saying that... but you know that. But anyway, the having like Canada, Mexico, like what would happen if the border went away?
Yeah, what would happen if the United States police, who are desperate to go hunt some criminals, kick ass, go after the cartel.
Right.
That cartel's done. They're done.
Right.
It's over.
But that's the type of thing where it's just like, hey, like thinking globally, thinking more globally, where it's just like, I'm not saying that Mexico needs to go away.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that I would imagine that the United States benefits by having the corruption of Mexico go away.
Yeah.
Mexico is now better because the corruption of Mexico goes away.
It's tragic, and I see the consequences of it every day in my classroom.
Right. I mean, the problem, too, is like, and like that's the type of and again, it's like colonization because that's technically what it is. But and then the same thing up with Canada, right, where it's just like, oh, so now instead of 3 separate nations, we're one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like it's just much better. And it's like, look, and then if we have to evaluate more to like, okay, so like individual states now have more policing power of like what they got going on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the onus is more on them as opposed to like a centralized government.
Hey, I love this idea where we just created the biggest empire the world's ever seen.
Oh, yeah, I know. You know, but it's like the same thing even in
Yeah.
Europe, and it's like
They
look,
pseudo have that. With
they
the
pseudo have that
Union, and
with
then
the European
England
Union.
left and
yeah,
messed it up.
yeah. Well, and that's stupid
Yeah.
because they just decided to be British about it. But anyway,
They
like
did.
the whole thing, that's kind of the main concept, right? They're all individual nations, but like the idea is that you're pulling together as one.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that we, as like in the North American continent, would help a lot if all of a sudden we just influxed Central America,
Yeah, and we could
Jamaica.
let those Haitians that
Yeah.
showed up here. I'm sure we could find a spot for them. There's nobody in Montana.
Right,
Let 'em go.
that's the biggest thing about the asylum seekers, where it's like, look, here's the deal, guys. If they don't make you feel better, here's the deal. L.A., Chicago, New York are all off limits.
Yeah.
You can go wherever else you want, but you can't go to those three
Yeah, it's
places.
overcrowded.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can go to anywhere else you want, but you can't go to those three places.
Yeah.
Welcome in, guys.
You know who I think should also take care of this? How about France?
Yeah.
How about France do something about that situation?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just once, I would love to see some pressure put on.
Yeah.
Like, we're the bad guys, right? And obviously, like, the picture of the dude grabbing the guy from horseback looked horrible.
Oh, and the guy whipping the guy from horseback.
No, he had that was the reins of his
Yeah, he
horse.
was whipping him with the reins.
I didn't see that. I saw a guy like with the reins in the air.
Yeah.
People were saying that was a whip.
Oh, so no. Here's the
He
thing.
actually make contact with it.
Yes, whether it is a whip or not,
He used it as a whip.
He used it
Okay.
as a whip.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, there is video of him, and whether he made contact or not
Doesn't
is
matter.
also
Yeah.
irrelevant. He was attempting to hit that man with a leather strap.
Yeah, so that's horrible, and I get all the bad press for that, like,
Yeah.
is deserved. But all this is France's fault. Like,
Yes.
when is somebody gonna say,
I know.
France, you did this?
Yeah.
Like, you're
Yeah.
an affluent nation.
Yeah.
Do a little something.
Hey, you know all that money you made them pay you?
Yeah, give it back.
How about you give it back?
Ceremonially give that back, because with inflation, it's way less than what they actually paid you.
Right.
So ceremonially give back.
Just give 'em back.
I forget what the number
12
was.
million?
Something like that.
It's
in the
chump
millions.
change.
Yeah.
But it's governmentally chump change.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, I'm pretty sure that, like, the bottom of the 1%ers could, like, sneeze that out.
Yeah, some rich French guy. Come on.
Yeah.
Make it right.
Yeah, God, like, just make it right.
They're probably not listening because this podcast is in English. And
yeah.
yeah.
And we're American, and they're
Yeah.
definitely they're still butthurt that they, like, just recently made up with Biden or something. I saw that.
There was a submarine deal that went wrong. I didn't read the details.
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
don't
They,
understand
like,
stuff
pulled
like
the
that.
emissary from the D.C. And then Biden had to go, like, kiss the ring or something. And
I'm gonna go eat freedom fries.
yeah, sure. Gonna go to Johnny Rockets, eat freedom fries, baby.
Yeah. We should tell the listeners what we have coming up next week.
Yeah, let's do that, because
Yeah.
that's the bell, right?
That's the bell, yeah.
All right.
So we are going to cover some 1950s school desegregation.
Very, very riveting.
And the prep I did, I watched an episode of Eyes on the Prize
Okay.
on HBO, which is a fantastic docuseries that covers the civil rights era with mostly raw footage
Yeah.
and interviews that were conducted in the 80s
Sure.
when these people were A, alive, and B, not afraid to say things that today would get you more than canceled.
Yeah, right.
You know, it's an incredible series. Like, trying to find this at various years throughout my teaching career to show it has always been a disaster.
And now it's on HBO?
Now it's on HBO, but it jumps. It was on
Yeah.
Netflix for a while, then Amazon, then
Sure.
I could find it on YouTube. Then it got taken down from there. And
Right.
I bought DVDs last year.
Ah,
I bought actual DVDs,
physical media.
physical media in 2020
Awesome.
to show it to my students. So
I started buying physical media again.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're going to talk about the history of it, but if you're interested in watching it, it's fantastic. We're
We're
talking
going to
about
be
episode
referencing-
2.
Yeah, and we're going to be referencing a lot of it.
Yeah.
Also, the lamest part of this is the homework that I have to do because of this.
Yeah.
For the first time in this show, I got to do
I'm
homework.
actually
so.
I'm telling him what we're doing, and I'm giving him homework, and I'm expecting him to know things.
Oh,
So
God. my high school career. If my high school career taught me anything, I'm going to try and speed watch it 20 minutes, an hour thing, 20 minutes before we do the show.
Yeah.
So,
but we'll make sure it stands alone,
Yeah.
if you haven't seen it. But
Sure.
if you get a chance, it's worth it.
Yeah, because the topic will be predominantly about desegregation of
Yes.
schools. So, thank you very much for tuning in. This has been One If by Land, Two If by T. You can please like, comment, share, subscribe, tell all your friends, write a review on Apple Podcasts. It really helps just kind of get the word out. Should have some big news regarding this show in the next couple of weeks, so I'll keep you posted on that, but I wanted to tease that now. Just gonna, hopefully we'll get some new friends soon. We'll see. But thank you very much for tuning in. You can find me at the Eddie McCabe on all forms of social media.
I'm MR Clark 135 on everything.
All right. Thank you very much for tuning in, everybody, and we'll see you next week.